Hey lovely followers, and this video I will be discussing my 2015 resolutions in regards to book buying as well as book reading. For the past 3 months, I've been sort of adjusting my book buying habits as well as my book reading habits. If you guys know me, I am not just a booktuber. I am originally a book blogger and still am a book blogger. So pretty much literally all of the books that I receive for review are for my book blog. Booktubing is just a hobby of mine. I love booktubing and I love, making videos, spreading the love. Most of the books that I read are review books. Last year, there's so many books that I think the majority of the books that I read were review books, maybe around 80-something%, which is very sad because I just keep buying books that I'm so excited for but never get a chance to read them, and that has been bugging me for a while, especially since my sister and I combined own over 600 books. And I really wanted to change my habits. So starting I think from September or August, I started adding more non-review books to my pile and reducing my review pile. So I just want to talk about the reading habits first that I would like to adjust for 2015. In 2014, I read a total of 133 books, and surprisingly 50 of those are non-review books. So it's not 50%, but it's very close. It's around I think 40%, something like that, high 30 percentages, which isn't bad. What really propelled me to read more non-review books is the Contemporary Lovers group that I joined and actually started with Giselle along with other booktubers. So we read one non-review book a month, so that is like a given for me. And lately I've been wanting to read more of my own books, as I mentioned, so what I started doing is that for every newsletter that I get from a publisher, I limit myself to 1, maximum 2 books. So I would actually sit down, read every single synopsis and go like, am I really going to enjoy this? Do I really want to read this? Will I be picking this up if it's not a review book? Will I buy this with my own money? That's the kind of questions I ask when it comes to requesting books. And I feel like Edelweiss is the devil. That's what I think. Especially with the Harper titles, I've noticed people requesting 5, 6 at a time. And I started also doing a limit of 1 to 2 maximum sequels that I'm excited for. I end up downloading, as well as standalones that I know I will be reading even after they come out in stores. So that is my one rule. Another rule is that I actually have a new co-blogger. We have a new co-blogger, Lubna, and what I do is that I sort of live vicariously through her. If there's a book I really want, I just message her and I'm like, do you want to review this? And most probably she says yes, so I do end up requesting it, but she reviews it, but I have in my mind it's there. So if I ever want to read it, I can just borrow it from her. And yeah, I've just dropped my requesting. I try to make a 50%, 50-50 ratio or 1-to-1 ratio of review books to non-review books. And so far, it hasn't been 1-to-1. It's been more like 40% to 60, sometimes 30% to 70, but I am doing better. This month, in December, I think I read 5 non-review books out of the 11, which is almost 50%, so that makes me happy. Also, another thing I'd like to incorporate is reading old books, so backlisted books, I think that's what they call them. So they're books that aren't newly published, books that I've had on my bookshelf for years. So I try to do a ratio of that in my non-review too. So around 50-50, a new release book with a non-new release book. This month I read Since You've Been Gone, or December, I don't know when I'm uploading this. I read Since You've Been Gone, which has been released in 2014, and now I'm reading Dark Triumph, which was released last year. I also did it with My True Love Gave to Me, which was released in December, as well as The Darkest Minds, which was released 2 years ago. And yeah, so I'm trying to keep a ratio of that too, so I can read more of my old books at the same time as the new ones that I'm excited for. My last book reading resolution is to read more adult fiction. I only read 13 adult books out of my 133 in 2014, and I would like to bump that up to around 20 to 30. That is why even in Random House I started requesting more adult books, because I just want to get into that. A genre that I love in adult books is thriller mysteries, so I'm more gearing toward that subgenre. Also, I've been looking through some adult books and reading the reviews, reading the synopses, even non-fiction books, and seeing if I would like some humor books like Amy Poehler's Yes Please. I really want to get my hands on that one. and just some more adult. I just want to expand my horizon. I know everyone's going into the fantasy world at the moment, adult fantasy, Brandon Sanderson, and just so many authors that I don't even know their names. But the only fantasy-like book that I want is The White Queen by Philippa Gregory, and that is on Book Outlet, so I'm waiting for March to get my hands on that. But I really want to read more adult fiction, not just chick lit, but like other adult fiction and non-fiction too. Moving on to my book buying habits. Funny enough, a couple of days ago, when I filmed this video, so a couple of days ago before filming this video, a couple of girls on Twitter were asking me about my book buying limit, because I have a book buying limit of 3 newly released books per month maximum. So usually I can just buy 1, 2, but 3 is my maximum. And the way that I do it is that if I'm super excited for this book, then I can buy it, but I can only buy 3 per month, and I have to read them within a month or 2 of buying them. So The Darkest Minds was one of them. I bought it almost 2 months ago, so I'm trying to do that. So if at all possible, I am not going to be able to read the book that I want to buy within the first 2 months of buying it, then there's no point in buying them, because you're buying them at full price. So I get it if you're not buying them at full price, because I mean it's a bargain, you just buy them. That's what I did with The Young Elites, but I still managed to read that book too. It was for 10 bucks and I ended up reading it I think 2 months after I bought it. So that is one rule. Another thing is that you need to talk to yourself. Are you going to read it? Like, are you 100% sure you want to read it? Because if you don't think you're going to love the book, maybe requesting it from the library is something you want to do. I'm sad to say I barely get books from the library, barely. I just have a library of my own. But like The Forever Song was a book that I was like, do I want to buy it? It's like $15, $16. I don't own the second because I had the arc of it. So I ended up requesting that from the library. So that's another way to avoid spending money. Because for me, my big problem is actually spending the money. I don't mind getting so many books for free, but I just don't want to put so much money in my books when I have other things that I want to buy at the same time. So that's one thing that I do. Another thing is Book Outlet. Yes, that dreaded word. The word that makes people go crazy. The bargain world. I try to only buy once every 3 to 4 months. Last time I bought was Black Friday. I did not buy on Boxing Day. I think before that I bought like 3 to 4 months ago. I try to keep it at that and only buy books again that I really, really want. So even though there are books for like $2, no, if I'm not as 100% interested in the book, I will not buy it. There's so many books that I'm like, ooh, this is cool, I want it. But then I'm like, am I really going to read it within the first year? Because that's what I do with Book Outlet. I have a 1 year like time period for that because they're bargain books. And most of the time I would say no, so I don't buy it. And for Book Outlet, it substitutes the money that I would put for my 3 new release books. So 3 new release books usually average at $45 a month. So if 1 month I'm gonna do a Book Outlet, you know, sale, buy, whatever, I don't buy new release books. So, or if I buy something for $15 on Book Outlet in total, I can buy 2 other new release books. Generally, I try not to go crazy over the buying. For January, I was thinking of getting Willow Groove by Kathleen Peacock, I Was Here by Gail Forman, as well as Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. But then when I thought to myself, and I read Gail Forman's book, I Was Here, the synopsis, I'm like, I don't know if it's a book that I'm going to 100% enjoy. And I don't think I will be able to read it in January at all because that month is packed. So I scratched that off the list. And then Willow Groove, I want to pre-order it because I want to support the author. And I love Kathleen Peacock, I'm friends with her, we always talk on Twitter, and she's the sweetest person ever. So I do want to, help out in the sales. So that's a book I'm definitely buying, and it's a series, it's one of my favorite series ever. And the last book is Never Fade, which is a sequel to The Darkest Minds. I read Darkest Minds this month. But I know that I will not be able to read Never Fade in January. For sure I will not be able to read it because that month is pretty packed for me. So I'm like, why buy it in January when I can just buy it in February and read it that month? So that has been pushed back. So far I only have Willow Groove as my to buy for January. I'm not buying anything off Book Outlet. I'm waiting for their March box sale. So I kind of set these little goals for me to keep me from buying books. 1, money. 2, look at all the books I already own. And 3, I just feel like I feel guilty. I'm a very sensible shopper in that I don't just buy. So plus I have too many books. I understand people who are new to the bookish world and who don't own such a big collection of books. I do get why you guys, you know, are buying so much and such. I was like that for sure. But now I've reached a point where I'm like, if I don't buy a single book and I don't review a single book, it'll take me 4 years to read all the books on my bookshelf, with an average of 100 books read per year. So that's a very frightening statistics for me. And I just want to read more of my own books. Like over here, I have the books that I want to read very soon. I have Let the Sky Fall, which I was crazy over and I wanted to buy full price, but I found it on Book Outlet. I have In the Afterlife, but I can't read that until I have Never Fade. Live Through This was one that I actually made a whole Book Outlet purchase for. There's Trouble, which I was given to, but I still need to read it, because what's the point of being given a book that I was dying for and not reading it? Then I've got Uninvited, which I recently bought this month. And then 4, which I bought at 50% off, but I still, it's a new release, I should have read it. So that's why I'm trying to do this. Book buying, I have the rules where 3 books and such, and like Book Outlet substituting it. And if I manage to not buy anything or barely buy anything that specific month, then that's better for me. I feel more accomplished because I can read more of my own books. A last thing that I would like to point out and related to Book Outlet is that I urge you all to read the synopsis of a book before you add it to your cart and buy it. I've been a victim of that. I've been a victim of looking at a pretty cover and then buying that book and then seeing all the ratings and then reading the synopsis and going like, I don't think I'm gonna read that book now. So I've done that several times at Book Outlet, and I feel like the bargains just get to you. You're like, oh god, like I just saved $8. It's as if $8 were given in your pocket, but that's not true. You pretty much paid at least $5 or something, no matter what the book is. So thinking of it that way makes you buy like crazy, but if you think of it in a way that you are spending money on these books, so you should be getting your money's worth by reading them. So you should be reading the synopsis before thinking about buying that book. So just an important thing, be sure to read synopsises, be sure to read reviews from trusted bloggers and people that you know will not spoil the book for you. And just be sure that you know that it's a book that you're 100% invested in. Don't get into the hype. Don't get lost in the hype. I know so many books that have been hyped up. 2 of the books that I don't think I will ever read are Winger, which has been hyped up like crazy. So even though it was on Book Outlet and everyone was crazy over it, I'm like, that's not the book for me. Like, even though it's cheap and everyone's crazy over it, it's not a book that I would want to read. Another book is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Not a book I would want to read ever. And there's a lot of books that are like that. So that is it for the book buying. This is it for my book buying resolutions as well as my book reading habit resolutions. I hope you guys get some tips and advice from these that will be helpful for your new year as well as your book reading and book buying habits. And that's it. Hope you guys have a nice day and a new year. Bye!